Hey, everybody, and welcome to Vida Baseball Live. Here's a look at what is trending. Well, today marks the inaugural Lou Gehrig Day across MLB, where all 30 teams and communities will raise awareness for ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Atlanta Braves outfielder Marcell Ozuna was jailed on Saturday after police in Atlanta said they witnessed him attacking his wife while responding to a 911 call. Ozuna posted the $20,000 bail on Monday and was released and now faces multiple criminal charges of aggravated assault. Former Mets manager and Angels pitching coach Mickey Callaway has been placed on the ineligible list for MLB following Major League Baseball's investigation into his alleged sexual misconduct. Although placement on the ineligible in the league in the conclusion of the 2022 season. Now, after playing the first 2 months of the 2021 season at their Dunedin, Florida facility, the Blue Jays are moving to their second temporary home of the year, Buffalo's Salem Field. After some quick renovations, and we mean super quick, such as new batting cages, bullpens, outfield grass, warning track, batting cages, new lights, upgrades to player facilities, the Blue Jays will make history this week as they begin their Buffalo homestand in front of fans for the first time. And for the first time since that's happened in 105 years. Throw back and dial it up as the Rays bring out the vintage early aughts Devil Ray unis for 5 games. I love these. They are so amazing. The 2020 AL champs dropped Devil in Devil Rays after the 2007 season. Talk about swag. And Alex Cora returns to Houston for the first time since the Astros cheating scandal broke, and this time as manager of the Boston Red Sox. To Alex, it was, quote, a lot different, but in the end, he says, quote, it's just another series. And that's a look at what's trending. It is now my pleasure to welcome Jennifer Mercedes, Ozzie Guillen Jr. Guys, I can't believe this. I was today years old when I found out that Rays, you know, they were called the Devil Rays, but Rays, the name Rays team, doesn't just refer to a ray like a stingray. It's also for sunshine rays, rays of sun, because they play in Florida, which is known as the Sunshine State. Did you know that? My mind is blown.
Oh, you can see by the look on my face. I am now today years old.
I think that when they named it, they just got lucky and they're like, oh, but we're also the Rays because of Rays of Sunshine. I'll tell you this much. Rays of Sunshine, I attest to the better team. Every time I think Devil Rays, I think Jose Canseco, Fred McGriff, Ozzie Guillen, Larry Rothschild, a lot of losing games. Bad boy. Those were the days. Bobby Smith, losing 100-game years. What a season.
Ouch.
Yeah, Devil Rays.
Well, we have a lot to get to on today's show. Let's talk about I Spied with my weekly eye. Jen, what was the best thing you saw this week?
Onesie weekend or onesie travel by the New York Mets. They were out in style. And I love it. I love it when the guys always, you know, they pull out the looks. And I would tell them to add this to their uniforms or to their trips. Actually, to their uniform tonight. It's a nice little do-rag. You can just wear it. Offend some people in Arizona. They need it. You can rock it. But yeah, the onesies. I like it. I dig it.
Easily offended, those in Arizona. Easily offended. Let's talk about the best thing you saw, Ozzie.
You know what? The best thing I saw was a manager who's actually very even tone lose it and break an unwritten rule of speaking about how he felt Major League Baseball was dealing with our little dirty secret of pitchers putting things on the ball. You know, Joe West, the day after he breaks the record, calls timeout. They remove the pitcher's hat, a hat that he uses throughout the year because they said that it had substance, but it adds to the drama. But it was great because it was a 9-minute rant of him basically explaining what the fans don't know, what everyone in baseball basically has known for a long time, and breaking it down. Again, the difference between pine tar and other foreign substance, and basically gave a 101 class on what was what. And I thought it was awesome because it was well-spoken, very well delivered, and it was like a professor just teaching a college course.
Oh my gosh. I love that. That was an incredible video. For me, this was Blue Jays manager. I love this. This is the best thing I saw. Blue Jays manager, speaking of the Blue Jays, they have a lot going on. Charlie Montoya, he stopped a press conference so he could check out his son graduating on Zoom. And Ozzy, Jen, as you guys know, anybody who has a career in Major League Baseball, we miss out on so many family events, so many poignant moments in our families' lives, in our lives that we give up for the game. And the fact that he paused the presser to see his son graduate high school, my heart kind of exploded right there. It was just awesome. All right. So moving on, let's talk about who won the week, in your opinion. Now, Jose Abreu was named the player of the week in MLB, so he's the easy choice, but obviously he's off limits. Let's get creative. Ozzy, who won the week?
For me, it's Anthony Santander. Orioles coming from an injury. They swept the Yankees. He's hitting like 386 with runners on scoring position. Put himself as probably the top candidate to be traded at the trade deadline for anyone who needs a bat. He's hot. He's scorching. I think that he's my candidate to win this upcoming Players of the Week. I think that he's just booming. If he stays healthy, he's going to be in the top 10 for MVP this year in the American League.
Jen, who wins the week for you?
For me, it has to be two of the most entertaining players in baseball, and that's Mr. Fernando Tatis Jr. and Javi Baez, who were able to play against each other in a series. And I just thought it was so much fun. I mean, if you saw the play, Fernando Tatis Jr., pulling out his own magic tricks against Mago at second base. I thought that was great. And then we all saw that play also, Javi Baez literally making the other teams, look like they don't know too much baseball. But when you have somebody like El Mago and Tatis El Niño facing off, I think it's just fun. It's good for baseball.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays again, the Sun Rays. I'm just going to call them that now from now on. I love it. I love it. As if the jerseys weren't amazing enough. They are 15-1 since May 12th. Since they lost to the Yankees, they're playing in Yankee Stadium. They had a game. They first opened their set on Monday on Memorial Day. They beat the Yanks at home. I am going with the Rays. Now let's go back to our trending topics. Let's break down one of the stories that I mentioned here. Alex Cora making his return to Houston, a 4-game set. The Boston Red Sox invade and get into the orbit of the Astros. So Ozzy, can you speak to what it's like for someone who has worked for a team? Perhaps they were unceremoniously cut or had a bit of a break with the team, and then to have to go back. What's that like?
You know what? I think for Alex, it was a moment of redemption. Unfortunately, Major League Baseball and the Astro organization found scapegoats and they just pinged it on them. And Alex was one of those guys. Mm-hmm. Alex was a bench coach, not the boss. And I think that because he was a manager of a Major League Baseball team, they wanted to come down on him. In Boston, if the glove does not fit, you must have quit. They didn't find anything in Boston. For him to go back to Houston, though, and be there, and Lou Howe not be involved in baseball anymore, because, they were referring to him as the bench coach, not by his first name. And Alex it's unfortunate because Alex was made to be the bad guy on this whole story. Okay. And for him to just say, I made a mistake. I was a part of this, but I love the fact that he got to go back as a manager and say, I wasn't the ringleader. And I hope Beltran gets the same shot because again, they were treated very differently. One guy was managing the 7th year in the big leagues, and they thought that he was innocent, and he cried with Tom Berducci on camera, but he's never dealt with the media. Alex did it a little bit different, but he was a coach. He wasn't the boss. So for him to be there, I think he said it's just another series, but I know for the team it is, but for him, I think it's another stepping stone of saying, coming full circle and saying, okay, we're going to move through this and forward. I think Alex is a better man for it.
Yeah, I agree. And not only is he going back to this team, right? Facing off against his team, but there's also this idea that the only reason they won was because of the team, right? And you're winning right now. He's winning right now with the Red Sox, and the fact that he can show his face and say, "I'm doing this" without any of that extra help, it shows his talent as a manager as well. And I think that that's always a good thing when you're able to say, hey, I'm still good. I'm still here. We all know that there's a couple of the Houston Astros players who we've seen struggle since the debacle and since the scandal has started. And so there is that doubt behind them is, are they really that good? And I would say that they are, but the numbers speak for themselves.
He was a coach. Coach don't hit. Again, and I think Major League Baseball and the fans get obsessed, and there's like a special place, again, for everyone's heart with the Astros, but we've had other players come out about their teams cheating, okay? Just because the Astros were in the World Series, but there's been rumors about other teams in the American League East, okay? There's a team, the Rockies, okay? I am not a conspiracy theorist, but when your catcher says we used it and you're 1 out away from going to the World Series, and then the next year you can't even put in 80-win season together, and your basically franchise goes into a debacle within the next 5 years, you start thinking, again, I think the Astros were the team that was punished. And Alex, unfortunately, Carlos Beltran was not gotten a chance to be back in the game. We're the guys that were punished. They were deemed the ringleaders, the leader of the gangs. They weren't players. Like, one guy was old and didn't play much, and the other guy was a bench coach. So when you look at the stratosphere of power in a team, they're not the bosses. But I'm glad that he got to go back, and then he's doing it with a team that's actually in first place and still dominating.
Yep. Right. So manager AJ Hinch, who was the manager back in 2017 of the Astros, and Alex Cora, who was his bench coach, they got a 1-year suspension. So they were on their ineligible list. They served that. They both kind of lucked out in the fact that 1-year suspension was served over the 2020 season, the abbreviated season. AJ Hinch goes back, and Detroit plays Houston. He gets a standing ovation. He comes out of the dugout. He tips his cap to the fans. I'm wondering, I'm not in Houston. I don't have access. I don't watch the Houston games. I'm wondering, what was Alex Cora's reception with the fans there? I would like to.
They clap for him. Okay? I think so. Why would the fans, why would they boo? Okay, if the fans had come out and they would have taken the stance of give the trophy back, we think you guys are cheating. But the Astros fans have not done that. They said this was part of the game. Okay, this is what people were doing. It's like Giants fans with Barry Bonds. Mm-hmm. Again, it gets back to this thing of like what's allowed and not allowed. If this was an incident where it happened and we didn't know rumors about it, but we've seen reports of Major League Baseball sending out memos to teams and the New York Yankees spending X amount of money so that the court wouldn't open up and make it public what was said in those emails.
Right. That's right.
Again, so there's a lot of things that are lingering. So as a fan base, I think that they've doubled down as fans and say, you know what? We don't know. We don't know who was the ringleader. It happened. We took our suspension, and it is what it is. And I think that both guys were very lucky. I think Alex doesn't manage unless AJ manages. Okay, I don't think AJ manages unless the Tigers are there and AJ Hinch is who AJ Hinch is. But so it's a storyline that keeps going. But I don't see them getting booed. Alex will get booed for the rest of his life anywhere else. When he goes into Dodger Stadium, a place that he was loved at for a long time, he will get booed there. But I think Astros fans will always want it. They'll always want to keep that ring no matter how they got it.
Yeah.
And I think if Carlos Beltran ever gets a chance, which I hope he does, I think that he will be applauded everywhere, actually, because I think he was the one that really lucked out of all of them.
All right. Well, now we're going to move on to a little game. It's called Fair or Foul. I'm going to throw out a viral video, and you guys let me know if it's fair, meaning you like it, or if it's foul, meaning no, you're over it. So let's check out this first video. It's a little bat flipping routine. I don't even know what you would call this. Some masterful juggling, though. Check this out. This video of this kid. I don't know if he's in like a ballroom or where he's at, but he's like juggling bats, which kind of, I would imagine, would be pretty challenging. I don't know.
But they're like little league bats, right? Like they're not like
they're fungo bats. They're fun. No, I don't know. There you go.
I mean, it's hard. That's a talent that is admirable.
I would say that's fair. What do you think, Ozzy? Fair or foul?
You know what? I'm going to go fair if you're into circus. I think that this kid probably did not get a lot of playing time when he was in Little League. And throwing a bat, that's a dangerous move. Very entertaining. I know a lot of teams that can use this kid because he's definitely more entertaining than their baseball team is. So again, not an easy thing bat. So I'm gonna go with fair. That's talent.
All right, fair or foul? How's this pre-game dance routine? Fair or foul, Jen?
I'm gonna say fair just because I love a good dance, and anybody who's willing to show some moves, even though it did remind me of like a lizard. I don't know why, but I saw in my mind like the gecko like dancing, and you put them side by side. That's what came to my mind. But I mean, I love a good dance.
I think we probably have the same amount of body mass.
Yes.
Ozzy, what do you think, fair or foul?
The only reason that I will say fair is because he did not know that he was being videotaped. It wasn't a form of celebration. This guy probably was at the nightclub the night before, showing his moves, and his teammates like, show us the move that you were doing. It happens. He's actually a very good dancer, not bad. But you know what? If he had done it in a celebration to show off before a game, I'd be against it. But he had no idea they were filming him. So you know what? By the way, he needs to hit the weight room, and I hope that he's a pitcher. That's a bad body for a position player.
He's young. It was taken at the academy. Right. He's a young kid.
He's big. He's got to be at least 6 foot. He looks like a Pedro Martinez type body.
I'll cut him some slack. I'll say that's fair. I love a good pregame dance, and his teammates seem to like it. So it's all good. All right. How about this photo? We know this guy. He's familiar around these parts. Start one, bench one, or cut one. It's kind of our version of marry, kill. You know the rest of the story. So what do you think? Mr. Voz y Guillén Sr., start one, bench one, cut one. Jen, which one are you going with?
Oh, I'm gonna start Mr. Yoan Moncada. I'm starting him. I mean, listen, when you got to rock the look, obviously you're gonna go with the original, and that is Yoan Moncada. I appreciate Ozzy. I love Ozzy, and he brings the flow. But when you look at the side by sides, yeah, I'm starting Yoan. I'm gonna bench Ozzy, and I'm cutting the other one.
Razor Ramon, he's a wrestler. Ozzy, give us the background on this. What was going on?
So they were doing the team did a Yoan Moncada getaway day, and everyone had to dress like Yoan Moncada. So Ozzy, for his pregame show with the Sox, dressed up like Yoan Moncada, but the Yoan Moncada kind of became more of like a Razor Ramon, Macho Camacho type of look. And it was more Rico Suave, I think, than actually Moncada. I actually wanted Ozzy to wear the romper, and that's why I will start Yoan Moncada. If you're a grown man and you look cool in a romper, that's awesome. You have to stay on board. And then again, I'm gonna go with benching just Ozzy because again, he put himself out there, and I'm gonna cut the man Razor Ramon, also known as Scott Hall, his real legal name. But no, again, I have to definitely keep Moncada because most people don't know this because the song is very catchy and he is a beautiful man, but he is rocking a romper. And if you're into that sort of thing, I actually asked him where he got it, Amazon. But yeah, so that's what I'll go with.
I just love the hair. A for effort on the faux hawk because I think a man over 50 who can rock a faux hawk is A++ in my book. All right, let's play a little game. It's called Would You Rather? I'm going to throw out a topic. You tell me which one you would rather. It's kind of a quick fire round. So answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Would you rather sign free agent shortstop Javi Baez or Carlos Correa? Ozzy.
Baez.
Jen?
Baez.
Who would you choose to start? LA Dodgers Game 7. Imagine, put yourself in the headspace. It's Game 7. Clayton Kershaw or Julio Urias? Jen?
Now, this is a tough one, but I'm going to go with Julio Urias just because he's been killing it since last season.
So if we go today with how they're pitching today, Dave Roberts needs to go with Urias because he's the best pitcher that they have in their pen, in their whole staff. And Clayton Kershaw is the legend. But if you start Kershaw game 1, you might lose. You go with the hottest arm you got. You go with the kid, who should have been MVP, by the way, the World Series last year.
I mean, no offense to Kershaw, one of the greatest of our generation.
It's about time,
but like I said, Game 7.
Yeah.
You got to go with game 1 guy pitches Game 7.
I'm biased. He's on my fantasy team, so I'm a little biased still.
I'm with you. Okay. Would you rather the nickname the Yerminator for Yermin Mercedes or El Bombi for Adolos Garcia? Who are you choosing, Jen?
I'm going with El Primo, the Germinator. El Primo, my cousin, German.
Ozzy, who are you going with?
I'm going with El Bombi. I think that we'll know that nickname for a lot longer than the Germinator. Also, El Bombi has not worn a shirt with his own nickname on it yet. So I want El Bombi. Bombi's very underrated, and he's had that nickname forever. A Germinator is brand new, that he was just gifted that name this season. But El Bombi's actually, when someone refers to you by your nickname, you're the real deal. And nobody knows him by his real name. In baseball world, everyone knows him by El Bombi. So I got to go with that one.
There you go. Okay. Let's talk hair for a second. Yuli Gurriel's hair or Fernando Tatis dreads? Jen?
I think it's a difficult one because I like them both, but I'm just going to go with Tatis Jr. on this one because he can do a hair flip. And I love a good hair flip.
Ozzy, Tatis Jr.'s dreads or Yuli Gurriel's hair?
Yuli Gurriel. Yuli Gurriel comes from a legacy of hardcore baseball players. He's also a grown man. Tatis is like 22. It's cool for him. He walks into a store, he's got crazy hair as expected. Gurriel walks in with that weird hair. People are going to be like, hey, man, you're a grown man. I'll go with Gurriel. He's always had it. I love La Piña. Gurriel all the way.
Benny the Jet from the Sandlot, throwback there, or Pedro Serrano from Major League. Ozzy?
Easy. I got Joe Boo right here. I got to go with Pedro Serrano because Benny the Jet Rodriguez is a backup player who barely made the big league team. He was only known for pinch running and his speed. Serrano is an actual silver slugger.
Benny the Jet Rodriguez. I got the jersey right here. Actually, thanks to John Boy.
That's actually kind of crazy that you have the Benny the Jet Rodriguez. So Benny as a kid, the best. Chase the beast down, all that. But as an adult, number one, way uglier than I thought he was going to grow up to be an adult. Very ugly adult.
You know why? You know what, though? The Sandlot and Benny the Jet Rodriguez was one of the first movies that, as a young person, we saw some representation of a Latino, like in a kid's movie. And I mean, that's why we got to go with Benny. Yeah,
I go with an adult. Had they played him and they had to give him an at bat and he would have get a home inside the park home run, I would have considered him as an everyday player, but he was a backup guy. I got to go with the silver slugger, Pedro Serrano.
I mean, the Joe Boo is priceless. But Jen, I remember when John Boy gave that to you at winter meetings in 2019. And it was a beautiful moment.
Yes.
All right. Moving on. Let's talk social media. Who's a must follow for you right now, Jen?
Chef Manny. So if you are somebody who enjoys Latino food, but doesn't know how to cook it, you need to follow Manny because he's got a breakdown literally for every recipe that you could possibly imagine. If you go to his Instagram page and you go to his stories and you actually follow him on Twitter as well, he's got a breakdown for how to cook pernil, a whole bunch of really, really delicious food. This is the guy to follow. The food will taste great and you will just also be highly entertained by all the beautiful pictures. And then you'll be hungry. So get the ingredients and then follow him.
That looks so good. Ozzy, who you following?
You know what? I'm obsessed with women's softball, the NCAA softball page. What these young girls do is incredible. Okay, the distance, the home runs. You think guys bat flip, the screaming around the bases. It is hardcore. They have great videos, and it's just really fun to watch. Like it's a different game, but they're super excited. And again, a lot of showcasing. I think this is one of the future sports that if they decide to have a serious league and let these girls play, like they're awesome to watch on that Instagram and their feed.
That's awesome. They are incredible. For me, it's the Tamarindo Podcast. This is hosted by two women, and it's all about lifestyle, entertainment, fashion, gossip, and also with a focus on mental health and calma. And I absolutely love their podcast. They are fantastic. If you have a chance, check them out. Tamarindo Podcast. They are wonderful. They also have some great guests across the world, from entrepreneurship to women who are just working at the top of their game. So check it out. Okay, Jen, now it is your chance to let us know what is on your mind, girl.
So there's a lot of things on my mind this week, this past week. But one thing that I had to finally just celebrate, because we've been talking about it every single show, Mickey Callaway finally does not have a job. And that's all thanks to Major League Baseball. Not the Angels, who decided to put out a statement and say that they had let him go thanks to MLB's investigation. I don't know what the Angels were doing, except for waiting for somebody else to do their dirty work. But finally, Mickey Callaway is on the ineligible list, and he will have a chance to return in 2022. Hopefully, look, I'm all for giving people a second chance and redemption, but I feel like Mickey Callaway is one of those guys who had multiple chances at redemption and acting like a civil human being and like a grown-up ass man, and he didn't. And this is what you get. And I hope we do not see him back in baseball. That's just my opinion. That's what's on my mind. And thank you, Major League Baseball, for doing what had to be done.
Absolutely. My fear with this is, first of all, I was happy to see that he landed on the ineligible list, but then it was like this asterisk, this caveat of until 2022 season is over. And then he can get back. He can be reinstated. Just the word reinstated. Just to me, it is undercuts the whole punishment, undercuts the meaning of basically telling someone that this is not okay. And I have a fear that he will be hired quietly by some front office somewhere that will see him as a redemption project and want to add them to their team's front office staff. And that would be a shame to the victims, to the women who came out at the Athletic, Katie Strang, Britt Garoli, who broke this story, and to victims everywhere, in my opinion. So I do hope that he remains on that ineligible list, and I hope he can go kick rocks and figure something else out, because baseball is no longer your home. You're no longer welcome here, Mickey Callaway.
The ineligible list, people don't understand that. People think about Major League Baseball teams, but when you're on that list, you cannot work for any entity that is associated to Major League Baseball. That includes winter ball. That includes any type of college tournament, anything that has to do anything with affiliation to Major League Baseball. But you are right. I was surprised that they gave it an end date right away. Okay, I thought that they would announce it, and then eventually 6 months, a year later, when it would die down, they would say, okay, this is when we're gonna let you off the list. Putting an end date to it, okay, just like they did with Alex, just like they did with AJ Hinch, gives teams a time to say, if I need a pitching coach, okay, in the time of Mickey Callaway, and you still believe that he has something to bring to a team. Also, I don't think he'll be able to talk high salary. You might say, I'm waiting until 2022 and taking Mickey Callaway into my team. So by you doing that, you are punishing it, but people won't be scared that you're going to lose your career and your job. Okay. And that's where I think that the reason there's multiple predators, the reason people take a chance is because guys know that they're not going to lose their career forever. Okay. So that's where I was surprised. It was very disappointing that the Anaheim Angels had to wait for the league to come out and deem the punishment. They could have just said he's suspended without pay. Kind of just jumped on it, especially with Mickey's case, because there was a lot of evidence. There was articles written, there was texts. Pretty much all we needed was a confession from Mickey at that point, and he didn't deny it. So I think that that's the part that was surprising. And again, all the cases are very different, but I think how you deal with it from a team standpoint, especially the position that he was in, I think it was mishandled by Anaheim. I think Major League Baseball should have not given an end date to it. And we're going to see, okay, hopefully individuals like yourselves, like Vida Baseball, they keep this in front. They keep this and bring it up and saying, why is Mickey Callaway getting hired? Because here's my thing. We fired Carlos Beltran, okay? A guy who's done a million things better in baseball than Mickey Callaway. Okay, a guy that did not have anything in his background except home runs and a stand-up baseball player. And we took his job away in New York because the team didn't deem that they can handle the pressure. And he wasn't even a coach, he was a player. He has not been hired by anyone. He just kind of went away.
Yeah.
but no one brings them back. If someone like Mickey Callaway gets a shot over someone like Beltran, that's when we have to speak out and say, why him and not somebody else? Because, again, people learn, but it's kind of like better off that you suspend someone like Beltran and say, you're suspended for a year, but next year you get your job back, than just leaving it open. So that's my issue with it. We'll see what happens in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. And I like I said at the beginning, I'm all for second chances. I believe people do grow and people change, but he is somebody that had many opportunities to grow and change, and we never saw it. All we saw was more of the same. So there's that. Thank you, MLB, once again, for doing what had to be done.
And that's going to do it for our show today. You can always check us out at La Vida Baseball on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Give us a follow, drop us a comment. We always want to hear from you, and we'll see you next time.
Grab your do-rags, Eds.